Here we go. One more time. Hold on. I screwed up again. One more time. What's up, everybody? Welcome to The Side Scheme, a podcast about everybody's favorite superhero card game, Marvel Champions. I'm your host, BananaCrapshoot, and it's a pretty exciting time for Marvel Champions, and here to talk about it with me is my perfectly balanced co-host, Tommy of Titan. Tommy, how are you?
Yo, I am so hyped for
What?
Doctor
What are you
Strange.
hyped about? The allocations?
Oh my gosh, the Sorcerer Supreme, the only character that I've ever truly loved. I'm sorry, Black Panther. I'm sorry I did this to you.
See,
Oh my gosh.
How can it be your favorite character if it's your brother's favorite character?
It's not my favorite character. It's my favorite card, like the character in this card game. Like, this character looks so busted and so fun, just so different and so wild, and just really pleased with the way they look like they may have captured the theme of this character. But yeah, I mean, I know if I'm playing with my brother, he's playing Doctor Strange, so that's kind of a buzzkill. But
I mean, he doesn't. I mean, he can be, She-Hulk.
well, I mean, it'd be more fitting.
Yeah, I mean, he's too busy playing Legends of Hearthstone, or Artifact, whichever one it is.
Legends of Runeterra. Check him out on the Twin Sons podcast. Yeah. Everybody, that's his podcast.
Free plug. There you go. You're welcome for the listener, Shane.
I got you, bro.
So how have you been? We haven't podcasted for a little bit.
I'm good, man. I'm hyped. Like, it's a lot of fun. A lot of great information came out about Doctor Strange, both before and after the announcement. So that's got me hyped. The Wrecking Crew came out, which has some people more hyped than others. News that there's an update to the RRG coming our way, which is great, just for clarifications so that we can understand better the way this game was intended to be played. So I'm very excited.
I really can't wait to see how they redefine you again. Because the printed RRG didn't have a definition for the term you, and then the digital RRG that came with the release of the game had like a 2-paragraph explanation of what you means, and it's still not entirely clear.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing about a digital RRG, is that, it's constantly, or not constantly, but, updated with some frequency at least, that can add, clarity, and as new cards come out, it may muddle certain areas and become less clear, and no two minds are going to interpret something the exact same way. So it's always nice to get clarification.
Yep, I agree 100%. Well, let's have you played any games recently? Wrecking Crew came out on Friday, officially, for people that actually had their shops either get in product or didn't have their stuff allocated. So were you able to get Wrecking Crew on Friday and play it?
I was. We played Friday night and Saturday night. I had my buddy Scott, my buddy John over. We went after the Wrecking Crew. We decided to do just B side, since we probably started playing around 9:30, 9:45. So we didn't want to be up all night. So we did the B side alone, and that game did not go very well for us. And then on last night, Saturday night, I was able to convince my wife to play with me. So, and we played just A. She wanted to play the Wrecking Crew. This was only her second game, and we were able to take it down. Yeah, it was good. It's a fun, it's a very different scenario. It didn't operate exactly how I thought it would, but I don't know how much you want to break that down, but we can go into some detail if you like.
I mean, you can break down a little bit if you want. I haven't played it at all. I'm waiting for whenever I can get my hands on it to actually play it. And I checked two local stores, since so I had the Team Covenant subscription, and Friday I called a store, two stores about an hour away from each other. The one I was driving by on my way home, from my where I was working, and the other one is kind of on my way home. And both of them only had like two or three show up out of like the 10 they ordered, and they were all gone. So, locally, I couldn't find any either. But if you want to break
That's
it down a
brutal.
little bit, I won't have anything to really add because I haven't looked at it yet. But if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about with it, that's fine.
Okay. So I'll start with the Friday night game on the B side. Actually, I'll start with my wife and I's game. We did the A side. This was my second playthrough, to be clear. I played Captain Marvel Leadership, which I felt like is the best deck I have built at the moment, and probably one of the better decks you can build. Just that, not necessarily my list of 40, but that aspect hero pairing. My wife is a huge Spider-Man fan, and she just wanted to play aggression so that she could just, knock stuff out. Turns out she's real good at drawing cards because round 1 she did 17 damage, and round 2 she did 22 damage. So it was pretty epic. She hit all 3 swinging web kicks on the first 2 turns, along with, I believe, a melee on the second turn. What else did she? Oh, and she played a Hulk on her first turn as well, and top decked a lightning resource or energy resource. So she did the force splash with that. So she put a wrecking on the wrecking crew by herself. And I was able to help finish it off with I think we finished the game on like round 5. It was insane the amount of damage we did. I'd played 2 energy channels. We had barely just gone through our decks at the point that we defeated the game.
That's pretty impressive.
And then it was insane. And I mean, I helped her play. My setup was great though, because I set up with Avengers Tower and Avengers Mansion, and that was really great for what she had, because I was able to allow her to draw a card and reduce the cost of the Hulk for her, so that she was able to have a really great first turn. And then, going into her second turn, she was able to get the card draw off Spider-Man's ability, and an additional card for me once I saw that she had the 2 swinging web kicks, and she drew a double energy, so she had a lot of options on that turn as well. So we had some big turns.
So that was the game you won.
Yes, that's the game we won.
And then what about the game you did not succeed?
So the game we did not succeed, I went back to my first love in Black Panther Protection. And Scott played a Ms. Marvel aggression deck, and my friend John played an Iron Man aggression deck. So right off the bat, the downside there is that none of us are playing leadership, which is arguably the best aspect, and none of us are playing Captain America, who's arguably the best hero. So it was a little, we had a little bit of an uphill battle. Plus, we were playing at higher difficulty, and we had never played this scenario before. But long story short, we got into some sticky spots off of some wild encounter cards. I can't remember the exact order of things, but Scott wound up having to block for John, who is so Miss Marvel had the block for Iron Man.
Makes sense.
Figure that one out. And I was already exhausted as the Black Panther protector. Or excuse me, I was in alter ego mode that turn. And Scott was left with 1 life left on Ms. Marvel, going into that round with, I believe, 9 health. And I was the last player, and my last encounter card wound up dealing him 1 damage somehow, and I can't remember what it was. I don't remember what the exact encounter card was, or treachery card, but it was brutal. It killed Scott. We decided to press on since we had already taken out a villain, and we're on the verge of taking out a second. Not really realizing one of the more interesting things about the Wrecking Crew that surprised me is I kind of envisioned it getting easier as you killed villains. It didn't really feel that way. No. It kind of just felt like, in some ways, it got more difficult. Like, you had the ability to control who was going to be the active villain early in the game, And then as the game went on, they played upgrades or they accumulated threat on their schemes, on their side schemes, and you wound up, or at least in the games that I played, we wound up playing around certain villains, only having to deal with them later when it was like maybe we had a lot of damage on us or a lot of threat accumulated on schemes. So the timing of it all wound up making it so that it felt almost more difficult as we took villains out, which I thought was extremely interesting and not what I expected at all.
So now, I have a question for you. So like
Sure.
normal villain scenarios, right? You have your villain deck, you have the standard modular set, and then if you're doing expert, you had that and another modular set, right? So I understand
Correct.
Wrecking Crew sets up a little differently.
Yes, drastically differently. There is no standard encounter set. There's no modular encounter sets. There's no obligations. There's no chance that your nemesis comes in. It's 4 separate villain decks with 4 separate side schemes that start in the game. 4 separate villains with their own individual life totals, and the scheme advances. The one prison break scheme, the overall main scheme, advances by 1 threat per turn, not per player, just a static 1, but also places 1 threat on each side scheme in play. And then the active villain becomes the villain with the most threat on their side scheme. So it can change, but you have some control over which villain is going to be the active villain
By
going into each round.
By maintaining
just by
threat.
which ones you're thwarting. Now there's some cards that can manipulate what ones you're able to thwart and which ones you're not. So there's interesting things like that can happen. But yeah, it was really fascinating, and it wound up so that the way that game ended was John and I, which is Iron Man Aggression, and me being Black Panther, decided, all right, well, he's got the suit, you know what I mean? I've got a good board state. Let's try to see what we can do here. So we had a couple good turns where we killed one and we took another to, a little bit of life. And then John died. So Iron Man perished. So I was left alone. Scott would argue that I did a terrible job of protecting them, which I can't disagree with. Then I was looking at a hand of 3 Wakanda Forever. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to seal the deal. So I got the villain down to just a few health. I think single digit health. I don't remember. And I killed one last, and I was down to 1 villain, but I couldn't seal the deal before I schemed out. I just couldn't prevent scheme from being placed. It was accelerating at +5. So I just couldn't remove enough threat from the main scheme because their decks are I think they're 15 cards apiece, if I'm not mistaken. And when a deck runs out, any one of the decks runs out and cycles, you get an acceleration token.
Right.
So it's interesting because the main scheme it's literally something that is an afterthought for the first few rounds of the game, but then in the late game, specifically when you're just down to 1 player, that started at 3-player game, it's devastating. That main scheme is like holy mackerel, and I think the last guy I had was Thunderball, who was placing additional threat on the scheme even when he was attacking me. So yeah, I just couldn't keep up with the threat. I did for quite a few rounds, but couldn't seal the deal.
I mean, an Iron Man was probably your main guy that you were planning on dealing with the threat. And once
he was definitely dealing with the threat, and his helmet's amazing in this.
How did the 2 aggression decks work together? Like, do you think that worked, or do you think that was a non-starter?
I don't think it was. I mean, obviously the outcome wasn't great. I felt like all 3 of us. I mean, Iron Man notoriously bad at setting up. Specifically, my friend John's Iron Man, for whatever reason, he never sets up quick. It's always 3 to 4 rounds before he's even remotely close to set up. But I felt like Scott got some supports early, but I feel like he didn't do a whole lot early. And then I felt like as Black Panther, I really didn't see my upgrades until probably round 3. And I never had more than 3 upgrades on Black Panther the entire game. I never played the daggers. So it was, not that the daggers are great, but I never even played them. So we definitely had a difficult time setting up. Scott did get the supports out early, but wasn't able to, really flip back and forth because there were a lot of turns where John was still in Tony Stark mode.
Right.
So we weren't able to really get a good rhythm going. We never got our feet under us. I think that a leadership deck would have helped a lot, even with all the splash damage that the Wrecking Crew seems to do.
Yeah, I mean, leadership. I don't think there's really any dispute that that's the best aspect in the game.
Yeah.
For now.
Yep.
Till Doctor Strange comes out. Did you have any other stuff from recent games you wanted to talk about?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I played another game with a friend of mine that recently got into the game. Joe from actually he has a YouTube channel for the Transformers card game Wreck and Rule. And they've been messing with some Marvel Champions on his YouTube channel. So I got over there. We didn't record or stream or anything like that, but we played Ultron Expert. He wanted to play through all three forms of Ultron. So we did that and we lost. I played Captain America Justice because I will be playing Captain America Justice on our stream on Monday night, tomorrow night.
You know what time tomorrow night you guys are starting?
We're shooting for 9:30-ish. So, depending when I get there, when we get set up and everything like that. But our target is 9:30.
And that's the Basement League channel?
The Basement League channel?
Yeah. I mean, the recording happens in the Basement League.
Yes, it is. It is in the Basement League.
All right. We'll talk about that a little later. We'll break that down and stuff. How'd that game? You said you guys lost. What'd Joe play?
Yeah, we lost. Joe played Iron Man Aggression. A lot of Iron Man and a lot of aggression in my life the past few games. I played the Cap Justice and John played Captain Marvel Leadership, and we lost. It was very, very close. I think Ultron had like 2 life left at the end of the game, and we just couldn't close it. It was tough, but it was a really good game. A lot of fun.
Yeah, Ultron's a fun scenario. So
yeah, I think he's my favorite, but the Wrecking Crew offered a lot that I liked, and I want to get a couple more games of that under my belt before it would claim the throne. But it's definitely in the conversation for my favorite scenario so far.
Do you think Wrecking Crew is like the hardest or most challenging, or it was just how different it plays that had you enjoy it so much?
I don't. I have a hard time envisioning how A and B is going to play together because that feels like it might be a real slog, like health wise. But I don't know if it's the most difficult. I feel like it's more manageable at times than Ultron. I feel like Ultron has the ability to just get out of control if you're not able to find your Hawkeye or to trigger your energy daggers or your Hulk with an energy flip or whatever it may be. I feel like Ultron has the ability to just get a little too out of control, and if he is able to sneak into NORAD or something, then you basically can't stop. You're on a clock and you can't stop him. So I think Ultron might still be slightly more difficult in my opinion. I know a lot of people think Claw is just as difficult, if not more difficult than Ultron, but I've never had the same issues with Claw that I've had with Ultron. I think that's kind of because I play into I'm not going to let the villain scheme. I'm very, very about hero mode when I play the game. I don't like to be in alter ego mode.
Right.
But I don't know.
I played as we'll jump into I played a couple of games recently. Most of the ones though that I played recently I recorded for the Side Schemes YouTube channel with a Captain America Aggression deck in like a playthrough series I was doing. And I did all those with the same 40 cards through all the games. I didn't change my deck at all. And I did just the expert mode of each scenario with the recommended modular set. And I took down all of them except for Mutagen Formula. I got in a real picky spot or tricky spot. And no matter what I did, I was gonna lose the scheme or damage. Like no matter what I did after I lost, I like went back through and like, okay, if I would have made this choice differently earlier in the round, once before I got to the villain phase, and it wouldn't have made a difference. But I want to start another one. I think I talked to you about it. I'm gonna do
Yeah, you were talking about doing two-handed. I like it.
two-handed. I'm gonna do the same thing, but with a random modular set. So I already put this stuff in a randomizer for the first. So the expert rhino is going to be with Doomsday Chair.
Ooh,
So
that could be interesting.
Yeah, that could be interesting. So that'll be, was it Black Panther leadership, and was it Spider-Man protection? I forget which one it is. No, it's Iron Man protection. It's Iron Man protection and Black Panther leadership. So I think that'll be a fun series because I haven't played Black Panther as much as some of the other heroes. So I think that'll be fun. But yeah, those are all the recent games I've played. And recently, we started doing a little more, right, besides the podcast, and then we started doing this stuff on YouTube, and now we started putting out articles. So I put out 2 articles this week, starting a series where I break down, instead of just the hero, like identity card, I grade or break down the 15 hero cards in the hero deck, and then we're grading them, me and you, on the 15 and not necessarily looking at the identity card. So the first 2 articles for that are up with Black Panther and Iron Man. No, not Iron Man. I'm drawing a blank here. Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
yes.
Captain Marvel. Our Iron Man goes out tomorrow morning. And then you had an article that has like 400 views now.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
So I'll let you talk about that.
I just wrote about Doctor Strange because I was the day after the stream, which is when we got the bulk of information about what's in his set, or maybe not the bulk, but we got a big dump of information about what's in the Doctor Strange pack. I was literally laying in bed and I could not sleep, and I decided that I was going to open up my phone and just jot down some notes and maybe write an article about Doctor Strange and just kind of get some of these thoughts onto this digital paper. And I couldn't stop, and I just wrote a whole article on just Doctor Strange and why I was excited for him.
It's a good article, and a lot of people agree with you. I just checked 490 views. So
wow, that's awesome. Thank you guys for even glancing at that. Even if you got a paragraph in and then was like, this dude's borderline illiterate, I can't read this. I appreciate you even getting that far. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, do you have any articles coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, I've actually really enjoyed it. Like the process of writing the article, I found it very rewarding. So I the next day at work during my lunch break, I started making a list of other things that I thought might make for good articles, and I've got about 2 more that I'm wrapping up, and then I'm going to send to my editor, my friend Scott. Yeah, we should have those coming out for you guys shortly. We'll probably be doing. I'd imagine we'll be able to do 2 to 3 a week for a while now with what we've got in our heads and kind of queued up. So keep an eye out for that. We can keep you guys with some content, something to fill your day.
Yeah, because I don't know about you, man, but like when I get a new game, like I listen to all the podcasts, right? And I download all of them.
Oh yeah.
If somebody puts out an article, I try to read it. This game doesn't like have as many of them, it seems, as like what Destiny did.
Yeah, for sure.
So hopefully we can like add something to that, and then like I try to watch like gameplay videos or stuff on YouTube when I get a chance. But I'm really excited about where we're going with the stuff we're doing content wise.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm just excited to just do it. It's just fun to do. I'm gonna play the game anyway, so why not record some stuff, interact with some people in chat. If one person shows up, I'm happy to interact with them. And honestly, just the articles, I love talking about this so much that my wife is like, will you shut up already? You know, my friends come over and I'm like talking their ear off. They're trying to leave. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, well, you know, Doctor Strange looks really freaking sweet, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, yeah, dude, I got to go to bed.
Check out that cloak of levitation.
Yeah, Cloak of Levitation is so dirty. Dude, I've literally watched the Doctor Strange movie twice on Disney Plus
since
yeah, I couldn't help myself.
I watched it like, or I started like a day before and fell asleep like watching it.
I mean, it's all like in the background. You know, I got 2 little ones, so I'm juggling things. I'm not like glued to it, but we went through it twice.
Nice. It's pretty good. I'm excited for Multiverse of Madness.
Oh my gosh, the WandaVision preview too looked so weird. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Marvel cinematic future too.
Yeah, for sure. I really think that they're gonna capitalize on a lot of that hype. I wouldn't be surprised if they mirror things off of, you know, vaguely off of the stuff that they're doing in the MCU to capitalize on that.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, we're just building a base right now. This game has so much potential that they've really flexed a lot of the design space that they have already, and I'm so excited for where else we're going.
I'm excited for Moon Knight when he comes out as a playable hero. Like, is he gonna have 4 different identity cards, and you switch which one it is?
I have no idea how they're going to do. I mean, there's a lot of characters that I'm still curious. I still think that Hulk is the next villain the next hero after Doctor Strange. And
Right.
I don't know how you balance something like that. Like there's obviously going to be like a drawback, but are we going to get a version of the Hulk that can transform at will, or are we going to get like, is it going to be like almost like a Green Goblin risky business madness kind of thing that happens?
Like when you get a rage counter once you get
like you take damage, you get rage counters in addition. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how you do that. I'm so excited for all of. There's just so much room to explore in a game like this. It's just, you can do whatever you want. Oh, you get a 5-card side deck because you're a magician or a sorcerer or whatever. And I'm so pumped. Yeah, he's gonna pull a rabbit out of his hat.
You better.
Yeah, card tricks.
Yeah, that, and what I was really excited about is that all right, well, we were going to talk about Doctor Strange later. We can just jump into it now.
I can't help myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. What I was really excited about is that the 5-card invocation deck is in addition to his 15 and not a part of it.
Yeah,
I was really excited about that.
But that is very exciting.
And
I agree.
Of note, like you said in the article, is that each of the 5 spells in the invocation deck, none of them are like attack, thwart, or defense. So you can still do those if you're stunned or confused.
Yeah, and they won't trigger things like retaliate. There's a lot of like nuance to it, and the fact that it's a card that gets played that doesn't actually come from your hand. So even though they're cost extremely affordably and come at the penalty of having to exhaust your hero, it's not a card that comes out of your hand. So like when you play, I don't know, First Aid, you have to pay 1 resource from your hand and then still lose another card to actually, like the First Aid itself. So it's really 2 cards that came out of your hand to heal 2 damage. Where this is a card that comes from, you know, a completely separate place. So the only additional cost is the exhausted hero, which is it's a significant cost, but it's really fascinating how it kind of skews the value of the card itself.
Yeah, of the invocations, which one do you think is the most busted?
The most busted? I think it's hard to say because I feel like they're all so powerful and so interesting. But I think a lot of it depends on, I think you're going to want to play certain ones in certain scenarios more. The Vapors of Valtor, the one where you choose a status card and you change it into a different status, for 0, is the most thematic by far, in my opinion. But it's also the most situational. But they're like, those statuses are thrown around in the Wrecking Crew like nobody's business. So that's a really great one for the Wrecking Crew, specifically to heal your heroes. to like unstun and make them tough, because with the rotating villain, it's less valuable to stun or confuse a villain, in my opinion. But the Crimson Bands are insane.
I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I give up to 3 characters tough with the 7 rings of Ragador, I think is how you pronounce that. Okay,
Sure,
that's
close enough.
insane. You could literally block infinite damage with that. Draw 3 cards for free.
Yeah, draw 3 cards. I mean, that's
Seems good. And the last one is Images of Icon, which is confuse the villain or remove 4 threat from a scheme. Place this card in the invocation deck discard pile for 1. I mean, these cards are just insane.
And with was it the Sorcerer Supreme, the upgrade? He gets
Yes.
6 card hand size on his hero side.
Yep.
So just makes paying for all that stuff so much easier.
It really does. And the Eye of Agamotto can generate you a wild resource. The Cloak of Levitation can ready Doctor Strange, so you can play more invocation cards.
Yeah, that's really the thing there is the cloak. So you can get 2 of these off in a round. And if you played like Tenacity, you get a 3rd one off in a round. But Tenacity I don't think is all that great, but if you
it's a rough one. Definitely a rough one.
If you can get 3 of these invocations off in a round though, it might make it worth it.
It might. I mean, the other scenario I see where you could, I guess no, they can't ready you with that. I was gonna say, well, you could play it if you were playing leadership. You could Avengers Assemble.
Oh, geez.
But I mean, I don't know if it would be better to just with the stat boost to just thwart at that point.
Yeah. Well, I
don't know, but
I guess do you have Doctor
insane.
Strange up?
I do. I have the entire kit and invocation deck up. If you want, I can start ripping through it.
Yeah, do you want to? We'll start with the alter ego mode, and then we can.
Sure.
You can start ripping through them.
All right. So Stephen Strange, it's unique. Obviously, he has a recovery of 3 in alter ego mode. He has the keyword Mystic. Stephen Strange begins the game with an invocation deck. See the insert. We already talked about that's a 5-card side deck that has the top card revealed at all times. He has the ability Natural Talent. It's the action timing. Discard the top card of the invocation deck, limit once per phase. So it's great. It's just going to allow you to cycle through and get to the card you want. For instance, if that Vapors of Valtor is on top and, there's no status cards in play, put it to the discard and let's see the next one. Yeah. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to say anything about that, or do you want to read some? Or
I'll let you read the identity card, and then we can talk about some of these other cards when we get to them.
Sure.
But you can just keep going right into Doctor Strange. I don't think there's really anything else with the Stephen Strange side. I mean, the hand side is 6, and the 10 hit points is pretty standard.
10 hit points. Yeah, 10 hit points is a little fragile, but I think you'll see that it's worth the risk. So Doctor Strange, he is a 2-thwart, a 1 attack, 2 defense, hand size 5, hit points 10. Avengers and Mystic traits. He has Spell Mastery. It's an action. Exhaust Doctor Strange and pay the cost of the top card of the invocation deck. Resolve the special ability on that card. Also, I noted in the article that this is the action timing. So your allies can call for you to take this action during their turn, which is interesting because, that top card of the deck is going to be public knowledge, obviously, and you could tell your allies if it's not. Either way, it doesn't matter. But it's interesting because exhausting him would be, the same sort of mechanic as like his attack, or would take the place of his attack. And you would never be able to do that during an ally's turn or a teammate's turn at this point. So this is going to add a new level of interaction to the game.
Right. And depending on which invocation is showing, it could be hugely beneficial
for sure
to play on an ally's turn. But
or if cards come out that where you can ready a teammate's character in some way, and then they can just be like, oh, I'll ready Doctor Strange, and you may have already gone, and they can just be like, I'll call for an action.
Right. Yeah, I think he's pretty. I mean, based on all the cards that we've seen, he looks pretty busted. So.
Yeah, his stuff looks good, and his 15 card deck is really good too. I feel like every card I read in here feels like it's either good value or great value. Yeah. Nothing is subpar. Some of it's pretty incredible, and some of it's standard and not like game breaking or shocking. But one that sticks. If you want to do, we're not going to read card for card. We're just going to kind of highlight some. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, sure. I would say we can go for card. I don't think anybody's really broken them down yet. So, okay, we can go card for card on this one if you want.
Sure. Do you want me to just keep rolling?
Yeah, sure.
All right, we got Wong, his unique ally. 3 cost, 1 thwart, 2 attack. He takes 1 consequential for either of those 2. 3 health, mystic trait. He has action, exhaust Wong. Choose to either heal 1 damage from your identity or discard the top card of the invocation deck. So this is really, really good. I mean, the heal option is solid. I mean, if you're exhausting Wong, he's not taking damage. So he's staying on the board. And if you're using him to cycle that top card of the invocation deck, it just gives you another out to get the card you want. And not have to be in alter ego mode, which would allow the villain to scheme, which you have far less control over than you do when the villain attacks. So I think he's a good card. I think his power level is probably lower compared to the rest of this pool, though. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, he's good. I mean, you need Wong with Doctor Strange, right?
For sure.
I think his action, I think he'll get played. But I think, yeah, compared to some of the other stuff in this kit, it's probably one of the weaker cards.
Yeah. He generates 1 wild resource, for the record. And there's obviously only 1 copy of him because he is unique. Yeah. Moving along, we got Astral Projection. It's a 2-cost event. Spell Thwart, hero action. Thwart, choose a scheme. Remove 3 threat from that scheme and look at the top card of the encounter deck. For each boost icon on that card, remove 1 additional threat from the chosen scheme. And this generates a mental resource. I think this card is
very good.
Bananas. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Yep. This is where you play the Gwen Stefani Bananas soundbite.
I don't have that one.
Then why even have a soundbite?
I do have. What is this? I'll play with it.
You've reached the life model decoy. Tony Stark message.
Oh no, that doesn't work. Oh
well. I'll just take a quick comparison. Let's compare Astral Projection to For Justice. They have the same cost. For Justice has the upside of, if you pay for it with I believe it's a mental resource, it removes 4 threat instead of 3.
Mm-hmm.
So this card has greater upside, although you have less control over it. But it comes with the added bonus of exactly what the first card is going to do to you as far as boost icons are concerned. Because that first card is going to be played as a boost card unless you're playing solo and they're stunned or confused and you're an alter ego. So it's going to give you knowledge that's going to allow you to play the rest of your turn out appropriately, as well as the ceiling. I mean, you could remove up to 6 threat for 2. If you even get 1 boost, 2 cost for 4th thwart is great value. So, yeah. I mean, this card is amazing.
Yeah, removing threat is, I mean, the way I view it is a little more valuable. So, the curve on it is a little less than damage. So, the 2 for 3 seems to be like right on curve for thwart.
Yep.
If you can get, like you said, the max at 6 is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's 6 is insane. I mean, 2 for 3 isn't the best feeling card, but it is on the curve for what you should expect for your dollar value. Now the 15 card set is usually slightly above average, but this is the same value as a card such as like Sneak Buy. I think it does the exact same thing at minimum as Sneak Buy, plus you get to see the card.
Right, seeing the card is, I don't know if you can really put like a value on it efficiency wise. It's just having that knowledge is so valuable.
It is
that it makes it worth it, even if it's an advance or an assault. Even if you do only get the 2 for 3, but knowing what's coming is really big.
Agreed. This next card, though, is even better, in my opinion. This card is a 3-cost event called Magic Blast. It is an attack spell. Hero action. Attack. Deal 5 damage to an enemy and discard the top card of your deck. If that card's printed resource has, and stay with me here as I list the 4, physical, stun that enemy, energy, deal 2 damage to that enemy, mental, confuse that enemy, or wild, all of the above. So this is an uppercut that does a whole lot more than that.
It's an uppercut with Hulk nonsense that works no matter what.
Yeah, it's never going to be bad, and it's just insane.
Ridiculous.
It's really, really good.
I mean, I don't know.
And you get 2 of these in the set.
I don't know. It's really good. Like, there's nothing bad. Like, you hit a wild off that's ridiculous.
Yeah, wild is insane.
For 3, you're gonna get 7 damage, a stun, and a confuse.
That's why they don't print a lot of wild resource, I guess.
Yeah, well, just this card existing is wild.
Yeah, true. I don't really have a whole lot else to say.
No,
if you can't tell that that's good, then
that's really good.
I think this is where we part ways.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
It's been, well, all 3 listeners we have. Huh?
Yeah.
See ya.
Yep. Thanks, Mom.
Yep. And Mr. Chip.
Yeah, Mr. Chip.
And his mom.
and Mrs. Chip's mom. I don't know how to say that. Yeah. All right. Next card. We got a 1-cost event. Master of the Mystic Arts. This is a hero action. Pay the printed cost of the top card of the invocation deck, resolve its special ability, then place it back on top of the invocation deck face up. All right, so we can play that card twice now, which is absolutely insane. Let me paint you a little picture. I'm going to scroll down here.
Bob Ross style.
Yep, here we go. We're going to get some happy trees out here.
Let's
say that the winds...
crimson bands.
Yeah. The winds of Watum are sitting on top of your invocation deck, and you decide that you're going to play the Master of the Mystic Arts. Well, you now draw 6 cards for 1 resource, because you're going to exhaust Doctor Strange, and you're going to play Master of the Mystic Arts. Well, you're going to do it in reverse order of how I just said it, but you're drawing 6 cards. That's insane. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to let you play out basically 2 turns worth of hand.
This is
madness.
Like strength in numbers without having to exhaust.
Yes.
17 things.
Yep. I mean, that's just obviously one scenario, but there isn't a single card that you wouldn't want to play twice, other than the one that gives 3 tough status cards.
Yeah, I mean,
I think everything else you would be open to playing twice in most situations.
It's I almost don't have words. So
yep,
you can play this on Crimson Bands, right? So you pay 1 to stun an enemy and deal 7 damage, and then you pay 2. So for 3, you're going to deal 14 damage and stun up to 2 enemies.
Well, you still have to pay the printed cost when you play Masters of the Mystic Arts. So you'll be paying 5.
Oh, yeah, it's 5. Yeah, pay the printed cost.
But still, 5 for 14 and a stun.
Yeah, it's still ridiculous. Or 2 stuns.
Insane. Or 2 stuns. For sure. 2 stuns is viable.
I mean, that seems pretty good against Wrecking Crew, I would imagine.
Yeah, that seems pretty good against everything.
Yeah. Well, I just meant hitting two enemies and stunning 2 of them.
Yep.
There's, I mean, other than that, I can't really think of too many scenarios where you'd want to stun 2 enemies at once, unless you have like a ridiculous mutagen formula board. But yeah, I mean, this card is busted good.
Yeah,
Can't believe it. Half this stuff as we go through this Doctor Strange kit, it's like I can't believe this is a card.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, who designed this? Like, what? Did Kevin Feige come in and design this because he's like a huge Doctor Strange fanboy?
Like the art on all these cards looks awesome. I mean, the theme of it all is. I mean, if you're not excited to play Doctor Strange, then I don't know what to tell you. Go play Arkham or Keyforge.
Arkham players would probably be excited to play Doctor Strange, I would imagine. So we'll go on. This is the first one of outside of Wong that we've had. So this is Mystical Studies, and at first I thought this was a support, and I was like, this is insane. But it's an event. It's a 1-cost event. Alter Ego action. Search your deck and discard pile for a Doctor Strange card and add it to your hand. Shuffle your deck. So you go get whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So this is basically a tutor for the Cloak of Levitation, which we'll get to later. Or if you've already got that, you can grab other amazing cards like maybe Master of Mystic Arts or any of these other cards that we're about to go over.
Sorcerer Supreme, Eye of Agamotto.
Is Sorcerer Supreme? Yeah, that's not in his kit though, is it? That's not part of his 15, I mean.
Oh no, that's just a basic card.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, it's one of the basic cards.
So I don't. You can't search for that
one. But the eye.
Yeah, the eye, the cloak, all good stuff. So moving on, we got Protective Ward, More Insanity, 1-cost event. By the way, you're getting 2 of these guys in the kit. Hero Interrupt. When a treachery is revealed from the encounter deck, cancel all of its effects and discard it. So basically, there's nothing that Doctor Strange can't do better than the other hero you were playing. Mm-hmm. He does it all. He thwarts. He protects. He attacks. He's insane. Insane.
Like Baby Yoda of Marvel Champions. Yeah, there's not much to say about this. I mean, it's really
canceling good. Treachery, just outright for 1, canceled. Nope. There's no downside. There's no draw another. There's no the villain attacks you. It's like the Spider-Man enhanced spider senses. It's just done.
Yep. See ya. It's like when you get that one off the expert deck that says reveal another card. Oh, and I have Surge. It's like, nope. See you later.
Yep. And then we got 1-cost support that's unique. The Sanctum Sanctorum. It's a location. Alter Ego action. Exhaust the Sanctum Sanctorum. Shuffle a spell card from your discard pile into your deck and draw 1 card. Pretty amazing. Alter Ego action, so probably not something that you're using all the time, but it costs 1. It gets one of your more powerful spells back and lets you draw a card.
Yeah,
so it's very, very powerful.
Put that Protective Ward right back.
Yep. The one thing that I think is interesting about this card, and maybe something that I would have a complaint from a thematic standpoint, is that it's an alter ego action. And when he's an alter ego, he's Dr. Stephen Strange.
Right. The actual
and
surgeon.
This is the Sanctorum. So that feels a little weird to me, but yeah. Whatever. I'm nitpicking.
They all have them alter ego action support ally deals, so I guess they needed it.
Yeah, I mean, from a game design standpoint, like it fits in nicely, but thematically, I feel like this is a miss.
Yeah,
which is that's probably the most negative thing I can say about the entire set. And then we have the big one, the Cloak of Levitation. It's 2-cost upgrade. Artifact item. You gain the aerial trait. I'm not sure where they're going with that, but you got it. It's a hero action. Exhaust Cloak of Levitation to ready Doctor Strange.
So basically, this means you're playing at least 2 invocations
Yep.
every turn.
Yep. Pretty insane. I mean, I don't.
I mean,
It's
this
just
is
insane.
I'm mulliganing for this card.
Yeah, this is the card you want. This is the card you want. I don't know what else to say. You want to find this card.
Yep. If I don't find this, like I'm looking for this or Mystical Studies in my opening hand, and I will send everything to the discard if I don't see either of these two. But that's just me.
Yep. I mean, I would keep the Eye of Agamotto.
Nope.
It's a good setup card, but that's where we differ, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you hit, I mean, whatever. The Mystical Studies you can pull from the discard.
Yep, you can. That's true.
But I want that cloak, man.
I'm with you. I wanted to. Next up, we have, in my opinion, the weakest card of the entire kit, and it's a 2-of in the set. It's a 1-cost upgrade. It's magical enhancements, condition spell. Play under any player's control. Your hero gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, +1 defense. Forced interrupt. When the round ends, discard magical enhancements. I just don't feel like it's a great value for 1. It's fine if you're playing it on a character like Cap, but even still, if Cap is, let's say, discarding a card to I can do this all day and going to get 2 attacks or 2 thwart, you're only at 2 thwart or 2 attack value for this 1-cost card, which is okay. It's fine. Nothing amazing. The other caveat is that you get the +1 defense, so it's going to remain there until the end of the round. So after they ready at the end of the hero phase, you still have this card, so you technically are still going to have +1 defense through the villain phase. So that's a little added bonus, but I still feel like this is by far the weakest card in this set.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, situationally, it can be good with Captain America if he's like playing aggression in his combat training, right? So,
Yep.
he can hit for 8. But other than that, yeah, it's gonna be used as a resource more times than not.
Yeah, and it provides an energy resource for the record.
Yep. And I guess
we have.
if you
Go
flip
ahead.
to alter ego mode, I guess it is a target for Sanctum Sanctorum. So
It is. Yep. Yeah, that's interesting. The last card in his set is the Eye of Agamotto, 2-cost upgrade. Unique artifact item. Hero resource. Exhaust the Eye of Agamotto. Generate a wild resource. And if discarded from your hand, it generates, or from the top of your deck, it generates energy resource. So another just really great, valuable card. Very straightforward, but very valuable.
yep, nothing bad to say about it. Generates a wild resource, so play it as soon as you can.
Yep. So I think we covered all of his 15. We covered the invocation deck. I don't think we need to go into like obligation. It's pretty standard as far as obligations go. Mordo's pretty neat. Do we want to talk about him?
Sure, yeah, we can talk about Baron Mordo.
Baron Mordo is the Nemesis minion for Doctor Strange. He is a 2-scheme, 2 attack, 5 health, elite mystic. Force interrupt. When Baron Mordo attacks you, discard the top card of your deck. If that card's printed resource has physical, you are stunned. Energy, take 2 damage. Mental, you are confused. Wild, all of the above. So he is basically hitting you with that magical energy blast.
Yep, I think it's very cool.
Very cool, very powerful.
And to note, this is like when he attacks you, right? So it happens like before damage is dealt, right?
When? Yep, not after. Yep. So it's definitely a powerful minion, and it should be a powerful minion because this character looks insane. We could go over his side scheme,
Sure.
if you don't mind. Open the Dark Dimension side scheme. When revealed, place the top card of the invocation deck face down under this scheme. When defeated, shuffle the invocation card under here into the invocation deck. It's 3 threat per player. It comes with an acceleration icon. Has 3 boost icons. So that's pretty annoying too for Doctor Strange.
Yes, it is.
Because that could be a pretty big card.
Yeah. It could be very crippling depending on what you have showing.
Yep.
Jeez. This is probably the worst nemesis we've seen so far.
I think Loki's pretty annoying.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not like devastating, but he's like he could be pretty frustrating, I'd imagine. There's definitely some bad ones, but this is up there. This is the big, like, 5 health is pretty manageable, but if he hits you, it's bad. It really all depends on when Mordo comes out, what the board state is for you and your teammates.
Yeah.
You know, are you going to be able to nuke him? Because then he's just a 5 health buffer to the villain. Or are you going to end up taking an attack from this guy? Because that's when it gets hairy.
Yeah.
The fact that the side scheme comes in with 3 per player is pretty good. Because, I mean, like, if you're playing a 2-player game, 6 threat isn't like,
Nothing.
you know, it's not a gimme. Yeah. And it's a really annoying ability for the Doctor Strange player.
Yeah, even Mordo's other cards are annoying to deal with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are not cards you want shuffled into the deck. Not a lot of boost icons in his set, but...
No. Well, I'll read this one, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Counterspell.
Oh, yeah, please.
It's one of the Nemesis cards for Mordo. Condition spell attached to your hero has a Force Interrupt. When you play an event, cancel its effects and discard it, then discard this card. And there's 2 of those. So you have to play an event to get rid of it. Yeah, so if you're familiar with Star Wars Destiny, this is basically a downgrade version of Stifle. But yeah, very annoying. And then he also has Thought Casting is the 5th card. The Treachery card. When revealed an alter ego, discard a card from your hand with the highest cost. Place threat on the main scheme equal to the printed cost. And when revealed in hero, you discard a card from your hand with the highest cost, and then you take damage equal to the cost. The rough 5 cards.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the better minions, villain nemesis cards, minion nemesis cards we've seen. So it's pretty brutal, but there's a lot to be excited about in that set. That is exciting.
Yeah, I think everybody is probably really looking forward to getting him sleeved up and on the table as soon as possible. So we can...
Yeah, I'm thinking about printing it out since somebody put it out just to see what it's like one time.
Yeah, it's probably ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other thoughts on the Doctor Strange stuff?
I could talk about Doctor Strange all night, but let's move on.
I guess we can use that to go into talking about deck building, right? So this game, being the Marvel IP, being a co-op game, has a lot of like first-time people to card games coming in. So a lot of them are like starting out, and I get messages from people like even in Discord about like deck building stuff because they play with like the suggested decks coming out of the core set. So when it comes to deck building, like where do you start? Do you start with your hero? Do you start with the aspect? Do you start with a certain theme or game plan? Like, where do you start?
I mean, I think I always try to pick a hero and an aspect. And it's and that's like the first step. Just so you know the card pools you're working with. And the reasoning behind the hero and the aspect that you're picking is because you see something that might fit well together, or maybe it's just the hero and the aspects that you like or that you just feel like playing that day, and that's all fine. But as far as the physical construction of the deck, I mean, you are locked into a 15. For me, I'm locked into an 18 because the strength, genius, and is it just called energy? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's just called energy.
Those cards are locked in for me. I'm playing all three of them in every deck that I can think of. So that means I have 22 spots left. For me personally, I like to play a 40 card deck. I think that if I take the best 40 cards, then I'm going to see those best 40 cards, or the best 40 cards for that deck. I'm going to see them more frequently rather than taking 45 or 50 cards or whatever it may be, and just adding cards because I can't decide what I need more. I'd rather have it trimmed down as close to 40 as possible. And my target is always 40, and that's where I've been able to take everything to so far. That's kind of the general starting point. After that, I think it's important that you don't want to be too heavy in any one type of card. Like, you don't need every damaging hero action event in the deck. You don't need, if you're playing aggression, you don't need like 3 relentless assault and 3 uppercut and 3 melee and 3 haymaker. I mean, that's just overkill. Pick what you need, a handful. You realize that a lot of your cards are going to get discarded to play other cards anyway. And try to just get some diversity in there. Try not to be so random that you don't know what you're going to get on any given turn of the game, but try to have some diversity in there. I like to operate in like 3 ofs and 2 ofs for a lot of the events. When it comes to supports and upgrades, I like to often I like to play like a 1 of in a lot of those situations. Like, I like to run 1 Avengers Man. I like to run 1 Helicarrier, and the reason I do that is because I'm going to see that card, and I'm either going to play it or discard it, but I know that I'm going to see my entire deck at least once, if not twice throughout the game. So I'll have the opportunity to see each of those 1-ofs, put it on the table or not, and if I don't, hopefully I'm playing other things on the table at some point, which is thinning my deck, which means I'll get back to that next card a little faster on my second pass through, because now I've gone from 40 cards to 35 cards or even less. So like, I'll run 1 Endurance, I'll run 1 Mansion, I'll run 1 Helicarrier, I'll run 1 of whatever. But that's kind of my general rule of thumb, and that might be a good starting point for some people. The last card type that I didn't talk about, I think, is just allies. And when it comes to allies, I think that allies are some of the best value in the game, because you play them on the table. They can thwart or attack. Sometimes they can do other things, like Hawkeye is great for crowd control. But the really great thing about allies is they can do what they were designed to do, being attack, thwart, secondary abilities. And then when they have 1 life left and you've gotten just about all the value you can out of them, they can just block 1 monster attack for you or a teammate and soak a whole boatload of damage that you don't have to worry about. So I think that allies are extremely valuable, and most of my decks, even not leadership decks, are running 4 to 5 allies.
Yep, I think that sounds right.
So that's just like some general ideas for deck building. I think that's how I do it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree. I start with a hero, and then I decide, okay, what, right? So like Cap Aggression, right? When I was doing that series, like Captain America, right? My favorite superhero. So I wanted to play him, and we were talking about Yarnborn and how he could be really good once Thor comes out, and I was like, you know, he can be really good right now because you have combat trainings. He can hit for 6 every round consistently. So you either start with a hero and then an aspect that I want to do something with, right? So you can build around a couple cards or a couple themes in your deck. So I usually start with the hero and then decide the aspect. And then, like you said, you always pick those 3 double resource generating cards. And you could probably throw in the power of cards too as 2-ofs most of the time. And then, yeah, there's some cards like I'm always going to play Vendor's Mansion. I'm always going to play Helicarrier. Some of those cards are just always, so you're really working with like 16 to 18 aspect cards to fill in. But I think you're right. If you go like too much damage, well, then you're going to end up scheming out all the time. Or if you go too much thwart reduction, well, you're going to lose the damage eventually.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, and we talked about it with the Miss Marvel thing, but like with the hero action stuff that's like specifically event ones, and you're looking at like, oh well, Miss Marvel's has these great shrink and embiggen. Not are those the supports that enhance the damage or thwart? I can't remember what they're called.
I believe so.
I think those are the big hands is the event. That's right. Okay, so if you have all these hero actions to try to synergize with this one support, but you're a character that's constantly flipping between alter ego and hero mode, you're going to have weird hands where, oh well, I started as hero, I played what I could, now I'm flipping the Miss Marvel, replenishing my hand, drawing a bunch of cards. But the cards I'm drawing I can't play because of the form I'm in. So the second half of your turn isn't as productive. So that's why I think it's important to run things like allies that can be played, you know, whether you're in hero form or alter ego form, or things like tac team, because you can play that in any form and it's going to stay on the table and be useful for multiple turns.
Right.
Those are just things to keep in mind, to just not be, your deck can be focused, but it shouldn't be so lopsided that it winds up just clogging your hand and having a bunch of cards that you can't play on any given turn. That's not a good situation to be in.
Right. I agree. You got any other general deck building ideas?
Yeah, if you want to win, you want to build Doctor Strange decks. Yeah, that's what I got.
Makes sense. All right. Since we're talking about decks and deck building, you played a lot of Black Panther Protection.
Yes,
right?
I did.
So,
yes.
Do you mind giving us a few seconds on your thoughts with Black Panther Protection? How your build is, where it's strong, where it's weak, any improvements you think you could make, or things you think it needs to be better?
Sure. It's gone through a lot of iterations. I mean, I played it pre expansions, like before the Miss Marvel set came out, and we got a bunch of really good new protection cards from that and the Cat pack. And I also played it after. So it's gone through a lot of generations. I think I'm on my like 12th revision now, according to the database. But it's a lot of one-ofs that I can stick on the table, like one of Armored Vest, one of Endurance. Obviously the one of all the upgrades. I have Luke Cage, Nick Fury, Nova, Shuri. I've had Black Widow in and out, Helicarrier, Avengers Mansion. Those are most of the one-ofs that stick on the table. And then I like Energy Barrier as a 2 or 3 of. Indomitable is a good card that I've gone back and forth with. That's both gone in and come out. But I think in a team game, specifically, it's important if you do plan on defending for people. Let's see what else. Med Team, I always love Med Team because it's such a versatile card, because you're going to be able to heal yourself, to heal your teammates when they're in a jam, and also to be able to heal that really impactful ally that someone's got, whether you're playing with a leadership teammate that has a vision that they've been pumping, or someone else came with a Hulk deck and you just want to keep him on the table longer, something along those lines. That's really impactful. So I think that's a versatile card. I love Tackle and I love Preemptive Strike. Those are 2 other protection cards that I think are really strong. I think Preemptive Strike is a little expensive, and the window that you play it in hurts your following turn. But it's got a lot of upside where you're both preventing and dealing damage. And Tackle's just a really good card to have because you have a surplus of resources in this deck because Black Panther's bringing the 3 Vibranium with them, and then I usually do end up running the Power of cards. So Tackles is pretty affordable for this deck, and 3 damage isn't the best for 3 cost, but that stun is really valuable, and it fits right in with what you're trying to do, and that's alleviate the pressure for your allies, or for your teammates, I guess I should try to say, so that they can remain in hero form longer, so that you can advance your win condition quicker.
Makes sense. Let me, you got something else?
No, I was going to say that's about it. The other thing I would say is just not necessarily from a deck building standpoint, but from a conceptual standpoint. I built this deck on the premise of Black Panther has a lot of upside as a defender for 2 reasons. The first, obviously, is because he has Retaliate. And secondly is because his setup ability on T'Challa allows him to search for a Black Panther upgrade. And the one that I'm always looking for, if I don't already have in my starting hand, is the Vibranium Suit, which is going to allow you to heal yourself every turn. It's going to allow you to take damage off of you and place it on a villain or a minion. And that winds up being really, really valuable for this deck because it allows you to stay in hero mode a lot longer, which is where you want to be as the guy who's blocking for people.
Let me ask you about a couple protection cards, and you tell me if you think they should have a place in that deck.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is called Unflappable.
Oh my gosh.
It's a 1-cost upgrade condition. Play under any player's control. Max 1 per player. It has a response. After you defend against an attack and take no damage, exhaust Unflappable. Draw 1 card.
Yeah, I think that card is extremely good. I think that card might be better in the Captain America deck or even a Spider-Man protection deck, because those heroes are going to be able to easily get to 4 defense with an armored vest. But I do think it works with Black Panther because you have things like Energy Barrier, you have things like Preemptive Strike that you can play in tandem with that to prevent damage and deal damage at the same time. So I think that it definitely has a place in just about any protection deck.
All right, so there's another one I'm curious about that kind of helps that one out. It's called Desperate Defense. So 1-cost event. Hero interrupt defense. When your hero defends against an attack, it gets +2 defense for that attack. If you take no damage, ready your hero.
Yeah, that's another really great card. I mean, I'm definitely going to try it. I don't know how I feel about that over Indomitable. I like the that I can play Indomitable and not have to squeeze it or draw into it and have it at a timely manner. Like I can be proactive with how I play Indomitable, and there's no caveat on me not taking damage. But that +2 defense is where the real value is on that card.
Yep.
And it's also where the real danger is. Because let's face it, I like to play on Expert. I think other people do. And when you're on, the 3rd stage of a villain or the B side of the Wrecking Crew, there's some scary values. There's some scary attack values there. And, there's some boost cards that even if you have a lot of defense and energy barriers and things out, you might not be able to prevent all that damage. So there is definitely some risk involved with that card as well.
All right, I got one more I want to ask you about. Right, and then
all right,
we can get off this. The last one is Iron Fist. Okay, so have you seen this card?
I have seen this card, but please
okay,
remind me.
This is Danny Rand. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
4-cost ally, 1 thwart for consequential damage, 2 attack for consequential damage. He has 3 health. He's a defender. He enters play with 2 mystic counters on him. So there's going to be another counter from Team Covenant coming soon. It has a response. When Iron Fist attacks an enemy, remove one mystic counter from him, stun that enemy, and deal 1 damage to it.
Yeah, he's trash. Yeah, he's just terrible. I won't ever put that. He's insane. That's really freaking good. I don't even know what else to say. That's just really good.
Yep. So
really, really good.
This is protection is going to be ridiculous. So these 3 cards are all the protection, or 3 of the protection cards. They're going to come in the Doctor Strange deck.
Yeah, in case you weren't excited enough already.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I am even more pumped for Doctor Strange is because protection is my favorite aspect, and it looks like he's just coming with so much ammo.
I look at these protection cards, and I'm like, okay, so you can build a stun lock Captain America protection deck and never take any damage ever, because you can have 3 tackles, Iron Fist, and then you have the heroic strikes and Mockingbird. You can never take. Ridiculous. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that the game is a wonderful game, but if we're being honest with ourselves, it's not really balanced for solo play.
Oh, not at all.
So things like that, degenerate things like that, are going to happen in solo play specifically. But as long as we can minimize the amount of terrible things can happen in these multiplayer games, I'm fine with it, because that's the most enjoyable way to play the game, in my opinion. And I think that that's how they created it, is something to play with friends. So I'm not necessarily worried about like a stun lock deck. That is 100% very feasible to pull off, though, and in a solo game. And not to say that that's not powerful for a multiplayer game, because that's exceptionally powerful. But that's why a villain can only have 1 status card, or 1 stun status at a time.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think definitely, from everything I've read and heard, I think the Wrecking Crew is a perfect example of that, because I've seen people, like on the Facebook group and in Discord, talk about playing Wrecking Crew solo and like just breezing through it for the most part. But then the people that are playing with 3 or 4 people are having more difficult times with that scenario. And I think probably some of it, just from you talking tonight, is probably because the encounter decks are so small that when you're playing with 1 person, I mean, you're not cycling through it near as fast. You're not getting to 4 or 5 acceleration tokens on the main scheme.
Yep. That was, we given the time, I would have killed that last villain, but and at the beginning of the game, I didn't give much stock to the main scheme being like, this is not really the threat. They must be trying to kill us here. And they were trying to kill us. There was a lot going on that leans into trying to kill you. But it's a fun scenario. It's very different. I also wonder how well everyone is keeping up with all the new rules, because the board state is a little overwhelming. So I feel like playing solo, there's a higher likelihood. Naturally, there's a higher likelihood that you're missing something because you have less eyes on the table. But there is so much to keep track of in the Wrecking Crew that I feel like there's a lot more to miss than in a regular scenario.
Do you recommend sleeving each of the Wrecking Crew villains in a different color sleeve? Is it easy to get the cards mixed up otherwise?
Yeah, you need to sleeve them in a separate color sleeve for sure, because there's times where you're revealing encounter cards from multiple decks in the same round, and those need to find the right discard pile. And there's times where things get revealed from an encounter deck and stay in play and then leave play later, or go on a different villain from the deck that it came out of, or a different scheme than the deck it came out of. So we color coded ours, just to match the colors of those villains.
Right.
And it definitely makes it easier. I would strongly suggest that.
Right now, everything I have is in like clear matte sleeves. So
yeah. Same for me. I'm clear sleeves as well, but the nice thing about this is it doesn't have to be compatible with the rest of your villain stuff.
Right. Because you're
It's
not using
kind of
any
a
encounter
one-off.
sets or anything.
Yeah.
And I guess the way
Now-
it's designed, could you like take like the Wrecker, right, and use him by himself and make a villain deck, or not?
Mm,
And just do like
I suppose you could.
as like
I don't see why not. I guess you.
guess like a bunch of the cards would be dead though, right? Because you're the stuff that you reveal like as a boost or a treachery or whatever that would have you switch the active villain.
Well,
would
there's
basically be
there's
dead.
usually caveats built into them, like that say if this is the last villain
you could
left,
just do those.
do Y instead of X. So there's a lot of that in there. I haven't gone through it card by card to look, but there's definitely a possibility that you could do that.
Interesting.
I think it's great though that it's a scenario that you can play without a core set. So like you could literally walk into a store, buy a hero pack, buy the Wrecking Crew, and sit at a table and play.
And have a bunch of dice as counters.
Yeah, you don't have to have the tokens to play. You can use whatever tokens you like.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, there's people that make money off tokens, so they like the tokens, so they can make money.
I mean, I like the tokens. I've been buying tokens, so
I haven't bought any yet. I want to. I'm kind of like, I like Team Covenant's tokens, but have you seen the tokens from Buy the Same Token? They're like
yes,
they're like black.
Yes, I have.
I like the looks of those, but I like the Team Covenant boards better. But the Buy the Same Token tokens are a little bit bigger and don't fit in the Team Covenant board slots.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, so I don't know what I'm gonna do now. I thought I had my life figured out, and then my house flooded, so now I'm all confused.
Oh no.
Well, so I came home from work Friday night, right? And my wife told me the floor was wet. So outside where our water heater is, like the carpet was like soaked. So yesterday I went to Lowe's, got a water heater, and changed it out yesterday. But then, funny story, the new hot water heater is 3 inches wider and 8 inches taller, even though it's the direct replacement for the one that was in there. So then I had to like cut the wall out. Yeah, it was fun. So now I don't know what token I want to buy because of it. I know there doesn't seem like there's a correlation, but in my head it makes sense.
I know I sound like a crazy person.
Yeah, just bear with me. I did have a note on here to talk about like allocation, but I don't think we're gonna touch that because it's been talked about enough. Right?
It sucks. It sucks. I wish they had printed more. FFG has always been extremely conservative with the amount of copies of games that they print. And in all honesty, from an outsider perspective, it's probably cost them money more than it's saved them money. I feel like they've printed more games that were in demand where they lost player base than games that they printed that just flopped immediately. And they just got stuck with a bunch of stock. So it's disappointing to see that they haven't been able to rectify that.
Yep, for sure. It sucks being affected by it. Like I thought the route I went to like subscribe and pre-order my stuff so that I'd get it right away, like I thought was all right, so I probably won't have to worry about getting it allocated this way. And still got the email, so that kind of sucks, but it's whatever. I'll play. There's enough. I'm still having fun. Like I don't play every day. I play a couple times a week, so I'm not like burnt out on any of the scenarios yet. So
yeah,
and I still got stuff I want to try, so I'll be all right until I get it.
One thing that I would recommend for anybody that is doing the Team Covenant stuff, like myself and you, Banana, is I actually had held off on subscribing to the story box because I didn't know what it was. I just didn't. Well, after hearing about the allocation, I signed up because I don't want to be the last person to sign up for that. I want to be as soon as possible. I want to be on that list in case that story box gets allocated, because that would be the ultimate feel bad as far as allocation goes. You do not want to get allocated on that. So if you are a subscriber for Team Covenant, make sure that you've added that to your subscription, because you can still cancel it at any time, but you just want to get on that list.
Yeah. Okay, so is that the campaign expansion subscription?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So when I activated my subscriptions, I did all three at once: the hero, the villain, and the campaign. All right. I just checked my email inbox quick.
So you'll be in front of me for that one. So maybe there's a greater chance that I'll get allocated.
But yeah, so allocation sucks. We all know it. Hopefully, the reprints they said for Wrecking Crew should come in March. So I'm hoping they come in with Thor. That would be ideal, and hopefully that doesn't get allocated. But who knows? Depending what batches they printed in, what's going to happen.
Well, if it's all been printed in a cycle, right?
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah. So if they all got printed in a cycle, and then we got an allocation for Wrecking Crew, but they identified that and they ordered a reprint, and it's coming in 1 month later, wouldn't they have projected that the rest of the cycle needs to be reprinted as well?
You would think so.
Yeah, that would be pretty idiotic if they don't have the reprint for Thor.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I'm excited to play Thor. There's lots of cards in there I think are really good and going to be a lot of fun.
I'm just looking forward to like rounding out another aspect, because I feel like protection and leadership are just so much more room to build.
Yeah, there's a lot of good aggression cards with what we've seen from Thor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you had a cool idea to get players playing at their LGSs and not just kill Rhino every week.
Yeah.
So your idea is a draft league for Marvel Champions. I'll let you explain what your idea is a little bit, because I know you're going to write an article about it, you said so.
Yeah, I'm going to write an article at some point about that. That's probably going to be one of the next two that I write. So maybe end of this upcoming week or the following week early, we should have that article to you guys laying it all out. But at its core, what it would be is, ideally, I'd rather wait till Thor's out, because I think it just works really well with 8 players and everybody has a unique hero. So you would ideally get 8 players together. You'd sit down, you'd create a schedule. And your schedule would be 4 games. 2 of those games would be played at 2 players, and 2 of those games would be played at 4 players. And then you would randomly select your teammates for each of those said games. And when you create the schedule, you'll determine, what villain it's going to be, what modular set it's going to be for the first game, second game, third game, fourth game. And you can call them weeks or games or whatever you want. But game 1 might be Rhino with Doomsday Chair, like my friend Banana here. And, we'll draw names out of a hat. So, okay, Tommy, you're paired with Banana. You guys are playing this. And everybody's going to play that same setup, but everybody's going to have a different partner. And then game 2, let's say, is Claw. And now I'm paired with Scott for game 2 against Claw. And then so on and so forth until you finish your schedule. After you're done your schedule, you guys perform a draft where you, again, randomly select the draft order. And then each player picks either an aspect or a hero. And each aspect can only be chosen twice, and each hero can only be chosen once. This is going to create some interesting combinations and force players to play heroes that they don't always play, or aspects that they don't always play. And it adds an interesting level of value to how you do things. So if Banana has the first overall pick, what's your pick, Banana, for aspect or hero? Your choice. Of the
Captain
8 heroes
America.
that would be out, up to Thor.
Captain America.
Okay, so Captain America. And at this point, we've got the least Justice cards. So Justice might not be a very favorable pick. But Banana picks Captain America. And let's say I'm pick number 2 and I'll take, Leadership. And then pick number 3 might be Thor. So that's how we would go through it. And then the 8th player would pick twice in a row, and then we would count back up. So it would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in reverse order. And this would create, the parameters for your deck. And you would be able to change your deck at any point within the same character and aspect that you already have, but to suit each scenario, or to synergize with your partner. But you would play through this league, all 4 games, and then at the end you can see, who played well, who did the best, who's got these points. Now you've had random partners the whole time. Maybe everybody won every game. Maybe not. I don't know how good you guys are, or how your play group is, or how comfortable you're going to be with these random selections of sets. Not really random, but drafted sets of heroes and aspects. So I just thought it would be a fun way for communities to play in a store, maybe to divvy out a kit. You don't have to make it competitive. It can be perfectly casual. I just thought keeping track of wins would be an interesting, bragging rights of sorts. If you really wanted to, you could do a solo play, like playoff, where you or whoever whoever has the best scores all play side by side, like one expert scenario solo, to see who, if anybody loses, then they're eliminated, kind of thing. If you really were competitive and needed to have an overall winner. But those were my thoughts, just because I know we're getting some kits and I'm not really sure how they're going to be implemented. I don't know if we're going to get like a way to play, but I just thought this would be a great way to set up a league for a local community. I know our community is going to try it. We're still trying to get like a solid 8 that want to do this. We have like 7, so we'll see. I'll let you guys know how it goes, and I'll release an article detailing it a little bit.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I don't know if it's something I'd be able to pull off locally, but I hope people would get a chance to do that, because it sounds like a great way to like grow a local community in a game and get people to try stuff they normally wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do it with 4 players, right? Or even 6, maybe.
Yeah, you could do it with 6.
Yeah, 6 would work, because you could do like 2 2-player games, 2 3-player games, and you could do it today, and one hero would just have to sit the bench, and then aspect-wise, 2 aspects would get chosen twice. So,
yeah, you could, I mean, you can make it work.
Yeah, you could definitely adapt it to work however you want. I mean, I guess the dream would be probably like a 12-player league, but that's a little daunting to get 12 people and coordinate schedules, and that's kind of why I thought it would be designed to be played over the course of a month for most people. And then there'd be other groups that might just hammer the whole thing out in a night. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
You can play it however you want.
Some of those 3 and 4 player games can rack up some mileage in the time area.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, it's a format that could be used for a long time. Like that could be used. The more scenarios we get, the more interesting it could be. The more heroes you get, the more interesting it could be. The more aspect cards we get, the more interesting it can be. So it can really change and evolve. And it can also, if you did like one season and you had like the player order of how everybody finished, you could use that to determine your next draft's pick order, if everybody wanted to return, or even if you wanted to sub a few people out and other people in. Anybody that's played fantasy football or any fantasy sport at any point in time, none of this language is foreign to you.
Yep. Sounds good. I hope people get to try it.
Yeah.
I guess we'll start winding down a little bit here. So stuff coming up for the side scheme content-wise, I guess we'll talk about for a few seconds. Monday night, the stream that we're going to be having on our Twitch channel, and then it'll go up on YouTube afterwards. So you want to talk about what's going on tomorrow night?
Yeah, we're going to do a 4-player Wrecking Crew. I think we're doing B-side because it is a Monday night and we all have work the next day. So A and B is just a little too lengthy for us. But 4-player B-side should be plenty of time and plenty of content for everybody on the stream. It's going to be myself, Scott, Jack, and Brian, and we are going to be hosted by our friend Jack at the Golden Dice Podcast. Generous enough to let us use his streaming equipment at the price of allowing him to play She-Hulk. So he's a very big She-Hulk fan.
He is now, anyway. So the way this broke down is they wanted to play random hero aspect combos. So since I wasn't playing because they live a couple hours away, I put everything into a generator and then had it spit out an aspect and a hero. So that's how everybody's playing what they're playing. So I think that's fun going in, having to mess with stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we have a Discord channel, and we're gonna have all our decks. Actually, all our decks are currently posted in that channel. And I'm Cap Justice. Scott is Captain Marvel Leadership because he hit the lottery. Jack is She-Hulk Aggression, and Brian is Spider-Man Protection. So that's how it's gonna end up splitting out.
I mean, those aren't like terrible combinations. Like, I don't know. Justice is probably
I think they're
Captain
fine.
America's like worst aspect, but
he's so good.
Fine.
It doesn't. I don't think it matters.
It doesn't do anything bad, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think Jack getting She-Hulk when he has only ever played Iron Man, I'm pretty sure. There's going to be a
pretty
big
big
change.
difference. Yeah.
Having to deal with 4 cards in your hand instead of 7. But I think it should be fun.
It should be.
We have that coming up. We have a couple more articles that'll be coming out. Like I said, we'll have 2 to 3, or like Tommy said, we'll have 2 to 3 a week for the foreseeable future here. Till we run out of stuff to talk about, I guess.
The way they've been releasing content, we might not run out of stuff to talk about for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we'll always have stuff as long as they keep pumping stuff out. So we got the articles, right? With the streams, right? I'm not sure when we'll podcast again. Maybe in a couple weeks. Maybe after Thor comes out, we'll have to figure that out. Depends when we get to the point where our spouses are sick of us talking to the game about the game with them. So
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm serious. Like, I'm at work and I'm thinking about, all right, now if I just change this one card to a 2 of, and then try this as a 1 of, and then I try to get through, like, how long would it take for Ultron to kick my ass?
I'm tweaking an aggression deck when there's really like 2 different ways you can play. That's it.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I'm trying to champion myself as like an aggression player for whatever reason. So
okay.
Yeah. Even though I'm not going to be playing aggression now because it's not what the randomizer spit out at me. And then we're gonna have that. I'll have that playthrough series going up with Black Panther and Iron Man. We did start up a Patreon. I'm not really expecting a whole lot of it. Just if you want to support the show, we'd appreciate it. Any money that goes into the Patreon goes into the show, hosting fees, stuff like that. Basically, hosting for the podcast, hosting for the website. Our articles that we've talked about, if you haven't seen them, can be found on our website. I'll have the link to everything in the show notes so you can find it. Anything you want to talk about we didn't talk about?
No, I think we covered it pretty good tonight. I think we hit all our bases. I was told to tell Scott that Nicole is better than him at this game.
Before we get started,
because of her success against the Wrecking Crew.
I mean, that makes sense to me. She did like 77 damage in 2 rounds.
Yep.
Alrighty, well, that's it for Tommy of Titan on BananaCrapshoot. Stay scheming, champions. And then I hit a couple things here,